Imagine a story hidden in plain sight, a story filled with wonders you've never heard of, miracles that defy understanding, and secrets buried in the sands of time. These are the miracles of Jesus you never knew about. Across 3 captivating parts, we'll journey into the unknown, a river that carries the memory of creation, a shadow that heals with no touch, stones that sing in divine harmony, and an eternal flame that brings hope to the brokenhearted. Each miracle is a key to a mystery, each chapter a step closer to uncovering truths that will challenge your perception of faith and the divine. What lies beyond the miracles you know? How do the whispers of nature and the echoes of eternity reveal the connection between humanity and the Creator? These are the questions we'll explore as we delve into the untold and the unexplained. Stay with us as we unravel enigmas, uncover divine mysteries, and reveal the hidden miracles that illuminate Jesus' unparalleled connection to the eternal. This is not just a story. It's an invitation to see the extraordinary in the world around you. The journey awaits. Will you take the first step? In the beginning, there were prophecies, words written on fragile scrolls that foretold wonders beyond human comprehension. But some of these prophecies faded from memory, their significance hidden in layers of tradition and neglect. In a small synagogue far from the bustling cities, Jesus uncovered one such prophecy. The scroll spoke of the hand of God that heals without touch, a miracle yet unseen. As he read the words aloud, a hushed silence fell upon the room. The scroll described a healing that required no physical contact, only the profound connection of faith. The scholars, initially skeptical, felt an unexplainable energy fill the space. That day, Jesus began a journey to fulfill what had long been forgotten, setting the stage for miracles that defied explanation and challenged the boundaries of belief. The disciples had grown accustomed to witnessing the extraordinary, but nothing prepared them for the events at the lake. A storm brewed in silence. The wind did not howl, and the waves did not crash. Instead, the water churned with an eerie calm, as if responding to an unseen command. Jesus, standing at the edge, raised his hand. "Be still," he whispered, his voice barely audible. The lake obeyed, its surface flattening instantly. The disciples looked at one another, bewildered. This was no ordinary calming of the storm. It was as though the very elements of creation recognized their maker. In this moment, Jesus demonstrated not just authority, but a deep intimacy with nature itself, a relationship that suggested mysteries far beyond human understanding. In the hills of Judea, there was a man who had lived his entire life in darkness. The villagers called him cursed, a man forgotten by God. But Jesus saw him differently, leading him into a cave, away from the judgmental eyes of the crowd. Jesus knelt and spoke gently. "You will see the light," he said, his words resonating with a promise that seemed impossible. As he prayed, a golden glow began to fill the cave. It wasn't from the sun or any earthly source. It was as though the light was alive, flowing through Jesus and into the man. When he opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was the face of the one who had restored his sight. Beneath a fig tree, Jesus revealed a truth that startled his followers. "The tree speaks," he said, his voice filled with certainty. The disciples exchanged puzzled glances, unsure of his meaning. But as they watched, the fig tree began to sway. Though the air was still, Jesus placed his hand on the trunk, and the rustling leaves seemed to form words, carrying a message of hope and warning. He later explained that creation itself bears witness to the divine, and those who listen with their hearts can hear its testimony. This moment was not just about miracles, but about teaching his followers to perceive the unseen. In a quiet gathering, Jesus broke bread with his disciples, as he often did. But this time, something extraordinary happened. As he tore the loaf, a soft light emerged from within. illuminating the room. The bread, once ordinary, now seemed infused with divine presence. "This is more than nourishment for the body," Jesus said. "It is sustenance for the soul." The disciples were filled with wonder. They realized this was not just a meal, but a glimpse into a deeper reality where even the simplest acts carried eternal significance. In the stillness of the night, Jesus approached a well known for its depth and clarity, but as he gazed into its waters, something miraculous occurred. The surface began to shimmer, reflecting not just the stars, but intricate patterns of light that seemed to carry a message. "The water speaks of renewal," Jesus said, his voice filled with awe. "It carries the wisdom of creation." The disciples marveled, understanding that even the depths of the earth held secrets waiting to be revealed by the one who created them. As Jesus walked through the crowded streets, the sick and afflicted reached out, hoping for a touch. But that day, no touch was needed. His shadow, cast long by the setting sun, fell upon them, and they were healed instantly. Cripples stood, blind eyes opened, and muted voices sang. The people were astonished. How could even his shadow carry such power? Jesus smiled, knowing that faith was the true conduit for miracles. It was a moment that redefined belief, proving that the divine could manifest in ways no one expected. On a hilltop, as the first light of dawn broke, Jesus stood alone. The wind began to swirl, not in chaos but with purpose. It carried whispers, forming words that only he could hear. The disciples watched from a distance, sensing something profound. Later, Jesus shared the message. The wind carries the breath of God, speaking to those who are still enough to listen. This teaching left his followers in awe, reminding them that the divine presence could be found even in the simplest elements of nature. During a meal with his followers, an empty chair at the table seemed to glow faintly. Though no one sat there, the presence was undeniable. Jesus smiled and said, "Not all guests are seen, but all are welcome." The disciples felt a profound sense of peace, realizing that the unseen guest was a reminder of God's constant presence among them. In a secluded garden, Jesus prayed under the moonlight. As he poured out his heart, the plants around him seemed to shimmer, their leaves moving as if in response to his words. It was a moment of profound connection between the Creator and creation. When he rose, he turned to his disciples and said, "Even the earth longs to be restored." This statement left them pondering the mysteries they had witnessed, eager to follow him into whatever lay ahead. The temple steps were a place of stories, some joyous, others tragic. Among the ruins of the old stones, a young boy lay, injured and forgotten. Jesus approached and knelt beside him, his touch gentle but resolute. "These stones have witnessed much suffering," he said, "but they will witness healing too." As he spoke, the boy's wounds glowed faintly, and the pain seemed to lift from his face. The crowd gathered, their whispers turning to gasps of awe. It was not just the boys' healing that amazed them, but the tenderness with which Jesus cared for even the smallest and most overlooked. In the quiet solitude of a carpenter's workshop, Jesus revealed a miracle unlike any other. As he shaped wood with his hands, a glow began to emanate from the object. It was as if the wood, under his touch, came alive with divine purpose. "Every creation has a story," Jesus said. "Even the simplest things carry the breath of God." Those who witnessed this moment never looked at ordinary work the same way again. They understood that the divine could be found in every act of creation, no matter how humble. The river had long been a source of life for the nearby village, but on this day it became something more. As Jesus stood in the water, its surface began to glow faintly. One by one, the villagers stepped in, their ailments disappearing as the water touched them. "This river is a reminder," Jesus said, "that renewal is always possible for those who seek it." The people left the river transformed, not just in body, but in spirit, carrying with them the profound truth of his words. On a quiet hillside, Jesus stood among the stones, his presence commanding the natural world. The disciples watched as the stones began to vibrate, emitting a low melodic hum that filled the air with a sense of awe. "Even the stones cry out in worship," Jesus said, his voice carrying the weight of truth. This miracle left his followers speechless, a powerful reminder that all creation is connected to the divine. In the wilderness, a fire raged, threatening to consume everything in its path. Yet as Jesus stepped into its center, the flames parted, leaving him untouched. The fire, though fierce, seemed to recognize its master. "Fear not the flames," Jesus said to his disciples, "for even they are subject to the will of God." This miracle revealed not only his authority over the elements, but also his unwavering trust in the Father's protection. Walking through a vineyard at sunset, Jesus paused and touched the vines. The air grew heavy with whispers, as if the grapes themselves carried secrets of divine abundance. "This vineyard speaks of provision," he said. "Its fruit is a symbol of the Father's generosity." Those who walked with him that day never forgot the sense of sacred abundance that filled the air. Beneath the shade of an ancient olive tree, Jesus sat in quiet reflection. As the moonlight filtered through its branches, the tree seemed to move, its shadows forming patterns that spoke of sacred mysteries. "This tree has stood through generations," Jesus said. "Its roots are deep and its story is eternal." The disciples marveled at how even the oldest parts of creation bore witness to the divine. In the bustling marketplace, a woman reached out to touch Jesus' cloak. As her fingers grazed the fabric, it shimmered, and her ailment vanished instantly. Others followed, their faith drawing miracles from even the smallest connection to him. "Your faith has made you whole," Jesus said to the woman, his words filled with compassion. This moment revealed the profound power of faith, even in the briefest encounters with the divine. Under the open sky, a feast appeared as if by magic. The table, once empty, was now filled with food that seemed to materialize from nowhere. Jesus stood at the head, his presence a beacon of divine abundance. "This is the provision of heaven," he said. A reminder that there is always enough for those who trust in God. The disciples and villagers shared the meal, their hearts filled with gratitude and wonder. In the heart of the desert, Jesus found a well, unlike any other. Drawing water from its depths, he revealed a liquid that sparkled like light. As the water touched the barren ground, flowers bloomed and life sprang forth. "This well is a glimpse of eternity," Jesus said, his voice filled with reverence. "Its waters bring life to all who drink." The miracle left his followers in awe, a testament to the life-giving power of the divine. At the break of dawn, Jesus led his disciples to a great river. Its waters shimmered with an unusual light, as though holding secrets long forgotten. Jesus stepped into the current, and as he placed his hands on the surface, the water seemed to come alive. Ripples spread outward, carrying faint images of miracles from the past. The parting of the Red Sea, the healing of Naaman, and the waters that sprang forth in the wilderness. "This river remembers," Jesus said, his voice filled with awe. "Every act of faith leaves an echo in creation." The disciples stood in silence, realizing that every miracle, no matter how small, carried eternal significance. Under a vast expanse of stars, Jesus led his disciples to the peak of a mountain. The night was still, but the air felt charged with anticipation. As they gazed upward, the stars began to shift, aligning into patterns and symbols that seemed ancient and sacred. A voice, deep and resonant, echoed across the heavens. It spoke of hope, redemption, and a kingdom without end. The disciples fell to their knees, overwhelmed by the majesty of the moment. "This is the voice of eternity," Jesus said. "It calls to every soul, inviting them to partake in the divine story." In a quiet valley, Jesus walked through a field of wheat. The sun cast a golden glow, illuminating the harvest. But as he moved among the stalks, something miraculous occurred. With each touch, The wheat grew taller, fuller, and more vibrant. "Harvest is plentiful," he said, "but the workers are few. The fields are not just of grain, but of souls. Look around and see the abundance of God's provision." The disciples understood that this was a call to action, a reminder that their mission was to gather those who longed for the truth. As Jesus rested on a hillside, a glowing orb of light appeared above him. It pulsed gently, emitting a melodic hum that resonated deep within the hearts of those present. The disciples felt as though the light was speaking, not in words, but in a language of pure emotion and truth. "This is the light of understanding," Jesus explained. "It reveals the hidden truths of the kingdom to those who are willing to listen." The disciples marveled at the simplicity and depth of the moment, realizing that divine revelation often comes in unexpected ways. In the vastness of the desert, Jesus led his disciples to an ancient stone doorway. It seemed ordinary at first glance, but as they approached, it began to glow faintly. Jesus turned to them and said, "Faith is the key to entering the mysteries of the kingdom." He stepped through the doorway and disappeared. The disciples were left in awe, realizing that this was not just a physical act, but a profound lesson about trust and the unseen realities of faith. In a valley teeming with life, Jesus stood surrounded by the beauty of creation. As he raised his arms, the entire landscape seemed to come alive with sound. Streams gurgled, animals called, and flowers swayed in rhythm, creating a melody that filled the air with joy and reverence. "Creation sings the glory of God," Jesus said. "When you live in harmony with the Creator, you become part of this divine symphony." The disciples were overcome with wonder, realizing the interconnectedness of all things in the kingdom of God. In a village weighed down by despair, Jesus arrived carrying a single flame in his hands. It was no ordinary fire. It did not flicker or waver. As he walked through the village, the flame radiated warmth and light, dispelling darkness and filling the people with hope. "This flame represents the hope of the kingdom," Jesus said. "It cannot be extinguished, and it will guide all who seek its light." The villagers found healing and renewal, their spirits lifted by the presence of the divine flame. As the sun set over a vast plain, Jesus stood with his disciples. His shadow stretched infinitely, intertwining with theirs to form a tapestry of light and darkness. The disciples saw visions within the shadows, stories of sacrifice, redemption, and eternal life. "This is the story of the kingdom," Jesus said. "Each of you plays a part, and together we weave a legacy that will endure forever." The disciples felt the weight of their calling, inspired by the grandeur of the vision. On a windswept mountain, Jesus stood and took a deep breath. As he exhaled, a visible wave of light spread outward, touching everything in its path. Trees blossomed, animals were renewed, and the disciples felt an overwhelming sense of peace. "This is the breath of life," Jesus said. "It restores, renews, and reminds you of the power of the Creator within you." The disciples were filled with gratitude, knowing they had witnessed a miracle of creation itself. At the edge of a golden horizon, Jesus stood, his hand extended. The light behind him was warm and inviting, a glimpse of the eternal kingdom. "The invitation is for all," he said. "Come and see the wonders prepared for you." The journey begins with a single step of faith. The disciples felt a deep sense of purpose, knowing their mission was to share this invitation with the world. We've journeyed through the miracles of Jesus, uncovering mysteries and truths that inspire and transform. But this is only the beginning. As you reflect on these stories, consider how they resonate in your own life. Like, comment, and subscribe to join us in exploring even more profound insights. Share your thoughts below. Your perspective matters. Thank you for being part of this incredible journey. Until next time, stay curious and stay blessed.